Welcome to the Wheats on Your Mind podcast. My name is Aaron Harries. Wheats on Your Mind is brought to you by the Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover in the future or have a question for one of our guests, please email us at podcast@kswheat.com. The number one economic driver in Kansas is agriculture. The agriculture sector in Kansas supports more than 238,000 jobs, or nearly 13% of the entire workforce in the state. And Kansas State University, the oldest land-grant university, is the largest contributor of workforce training and research for the agriculture industry. To get good students and to conduct good research requires good facilities, and it's been many decades since the agriculture buildings at K-State have seen some major updates. This is about to change, in no small part to our guest, Ernie Minton, Dean of the College of Agriculture at K-State. Thanks for being here, Ernie.
Absolutely, Aaron. I'm happy to be with you.
Ernie, you've been Dean of the College of Agriculture since 2019, but have been in the college much longer than that, 25 years, I think, prior to being named Dean in Animal Sciences. You're probably more familiar with the condition of the facilities in the college than anyone else. And so I guess before we get to the good, maybe should start with the bad. Just how bad have some of the facilities gotten in the college?
We've been presenting in various locations over the past year plus the case for revitalizing our buildings across the college. And there's a particular slide that has a scorecard, report card, I should say, with letter grades assigned it, much like we had received through our school years. All of them, all the buildings that house our on-campus faculty and staff have either D's or F's. And so to make a little light of this and often lighten up the presentation, I mentioned that this can't be mistaken for my first semester freshman grade card or transcript, but this really is the poor condition of our buildings on campus. And so that's in a nutshell how bad it is. And I often try to follow that by saying, even despite this handicap, our faculty and staff do a fantastic job trying to deliver our mission of teaching, research, and extension to meet the needs of the young people that arrive on our campus with their future out in front of them, and we add value to their lives. But we also conduct research to advance the body of knowledge in food, agriculture, and natural resources. And then, of course, we take it out to the field through our extension system to get it implemented. And then as we find things that don't work as well as they may have in the research setting, we refine them and try to improve processes. But there comes a time in the life of a building which it's lived out its useful life and needs to be replaced. And so that's what we're on the cusp of here.
Yeah, and facilities obviously probably have a big impact on recruiting, which has been a challenge in the past couple of years for any number of reasons. But, you know, the prospect of having new shiny facilities, what do you think that will mean for recruitment for your college?
Yeah, I think, like it or not, the appearance that you're part of a winning team really matters, particularly to young people, who are looking for what might be a predictor of what they're getting ready to sign up for. And we do know this, that a number of our peer institutions and those that are in states contiguous to Kansas have invested. And I don't know, it's probably hyperbolic to call it an arms race, but in a way it kind of is, because a lot of the poor condition that we see on the campus of Kansas State University is replicated at Oklahoma State, at University of Nebraska and Missouri, Colorado State, etc., because there was so much construction that occurred during the 1950s and 60s all across the United States. And so it's time for those to be refreshed. That's one thing. And then secondly, we're also competing for a bit of a diminishing cohort, so we expect our classes coming forward to to have a higher percentage of out-of-state students than maybe we've had in the past. And so those students are making their choices on cost and other kinds of things, and then also the quality, I think, of the facilities that they're going to be trained in.
So I recall a few years ago, or for 5 years or so now, there's been discussions about replacing Schellenberger Hall, which is the Grain Science building on the main campus. But that plan got a lot bigger, and it got a lot more accelerated. The urgency for moving these plans forward was brought about by the University Challenge Grant Award notification in 2023. So give us the background on that, the funds that became available.
I'll back up just a little bit earlier in 2022 to begin the backstory on that, the answer to your question, Aaron. In February, as a matter of fact, it was Valentine's Day of 2022 when our new president, Richard Linton, arrived on campus. He was here a few days and then was already over in Topeka advocating on behalf of the university. And he was aware that facilities were part of the challenge. During his interview process, that became very, very clear. That was a priority going into the legislative session and then as it progressed. And so we learned towards the end of the legislative session that we had the opportunity to receive $25 million free and clear without a match, and then there was another 25, and this is the challenge grant that you referred to, that we could get if we could raise $3 for every one of state funds. So to get the maximum of $25 million, we had to raise $75 million, and so moreover, we were informed we had about 5.5 months to get it done. You know, it would not be truthful to say that we weren't concerned about whether we could accomplish this or not, but we activated a really strong team of individuals to help achieve that. It's dangerous to call out individuals, but I do want to mention Carrie Weefall at the foundation, who's relatively new in that lead development role. Susan Metzger, who has worked with us for a number of years, also took on an administrative leadership role in that team to keep things coordinated and work on planning and so forth. And then Dr. Jason Ellis, who's the head of Department of Communications and Ag Ed, worked on the communications pieces as well. And so lo and behold, when December 7th came and it was time to submit this challenge grant, it had gotten bigger, as you mentioned, Aaron. We had raised $81.454 million, and that was inclusive of projects that would replace Schellenberger Hall and Feed Technology Hall. And for those who are less familiar with that, that's that connector building between Schellenberger and East Waters. And then our plans were to move the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry over to the base between Call and Weber Hall. And we planned on connectors, skywalks or whatever maybe is the appropriate language for that, to connect the new building, which we'd call the Global Center for Grain and Food Innovation, with Call Hall and then also with Weber Hall. And the goal there was to remove barriers to collaboration between our food scientists, which are primarily housed in Call Hall, and then also the milling and baking faculty from the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry, and of course their students as well, and then also connect the ruminant and non-ruminant nutritionists with the feed science faculty and also the newer pet food faculty as well. So that's one major project. We're also on Kimball Avenue. We sold some property to the K-State Foundation and are developing out new facilities for the Agronomy North Farm, which are going to relocate the research facilities, which include the wheat breeding program and others, and then create an innovation center out there as well, so that agronomy and other faculty in the college, and actually potentially outside of our college, can work shoulder to shoulder with folks in the industry to innovate and then be maybe at a place where they can roll these innovations out and utilize them on the North Agronomy Farm. And then the project which rounds out what was in the challenge grant was one that was a latecomer to the project, and that is a livestock performance arena, which is kind of up on the hill above the fire station at Denison and Kimball, adjacent to the Stanley Stout Center. What that the build out of that facility would allow us to do is to make other kinds of choices potentially for Weber Arena. Investing in revitalizing the arena, while there's a lot of nostalgic pull of people who've been through the Department of Animal Science for events in Weber, there may be other better ways perhaps to spend renovation dollars if we have access to this arena. So those are the projects that go into the challenge grant.
Okay, well let's break down these a little bit more in detail. So the old Schellenberger Hall will come down, correct?
It will be, yes.
And what is the timeline of that? Will the Global Center be built before Schellenberger comes down?
Yeah, because we need a place for the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry to go. That building will need to be completed before Schellenberger Hall comes down. And so the funds that actually are coming to K-State from the state of Kansas originated as federal dollars, and they have restrictions on when they have to be spent out. And so by December 2026, we anticipate the Global Center for Grain and Food Innovation to be completed. And so roughly 24 months of construction, and you can do the math, back it up from December 2026. So in 2024, we expect to see dirt moving on that corner for where that new building will be.
I imagine you have some busy architects right now.
We're right in the middle of that, Aaron. As a matter of fact, the architect for that particular project has scheduled, that's what I have to go to immediately when I finish this, their initial interviews with departmental leadership and faculty that are contributing to the need there for what will actually go into that building. And so, yeah, the architects are getting really, really geared up, because the timeline is actually going to need to be pretty aggressive.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So the first groundbreaking will actually be here on the North Agronomy Farm, kind of where the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center is. You mentioned those facilities. Yeah,
that's true. May 20, I believe, is the date when that will occur. Yeah, it will be the groundbreaking for the new construction for the North Agronomy Farm. And we haven't scheduled the groundbreaking for the next project that will come after the North Agronomy Farm, will be that livestock performance arena. And the reason that we are doing that is because we need it to be completed to ensure that we can make choices for Weber Hall that won't negatively impact events like the K-State Rodeo, the Cattleman's Day, and other kinds of events that will need to occur in that arena. So it needs to be completed as well. But you can see these things are going to happen in pretty rapid succession, because sometime in mid-2024, we're going to need to break ground and initiate construction on that Global Center project as well.
Yeah, the Agronomy Center, I should mention, is really close here to the Wheat Innovation Center. I've kind of referred to this area along Kimball Avenue, North Manhattan, as kind of the intersection of agriculture and athletics. A lot of people drive down that corridor, and so these new buildings on the Agronomy Farm are going to be a nice showpiece, and not to mention good facilities for the researchers and scientists. But I believe the foundation, K-State Foundation, also has plans along there. Tell us about how it's going to be more of a showpiece, educational tool for agronomy.
Kimball Avenue between College and Denison is really going to be transformed over the next many months to year or so. I'll begin with reiterating what I said a little bit earlier, that we sold a little over 16 acres of property that was right against Kimball Avenue to the K-State Foundation. Well, there's even more to it than that. So Kimball Avenue has begun to, or had accumulated more traffic than it was ever designed for, and so the city had made the decision that they were going to need to widen Kimball Avenue, provide turn lanes and other kinds of safety features because of the number of rear-ender accidents, some of which had become serious, that had occurred up and down Kimball. And so what that did is it really restricted our movement out of the North Agronomy Farm and onto Kimball. And so that was one of the triggers to making the decision to sell that property. And, you know, it's never without consequence to take property that you've had and maintained over the many, many years at the North Agronomy Farm. But it mostly was used for demonstration plots, and folks will recall fondly when they were in school here the sunflower field on the corner of Kimball and College. So, but we could do that and not negatively impact the functions of the Department of Agronomy. So we made that choice, and the city put in what was gravel, now a really nice access road that you're familiar with, working here at the Kansas Wheat Innovation Center. Yeah, that project is going to be the first one to go, and you know, many things will have to come into focus for that to be completed totally. But I think the area ultimately surrounding not just the North Agronomy Farm innovations, but also the parking area here around Kansas Wheat, the International Grains Program, and the mills will be really improved. And the parking surface actually over by IGP had become quite in disrepair, so that's going to be very helpful as well.
At the time of recording this, that parking lot at IGP is gone. They're preparing to lay new, but for those obviously you can't see the plans, it will become almost a really nice community, nice district up here north side of Kimball. So price tag on the agronomy building is roughly $25 million, roughly $26 million for the livestock competition arena. Renovations on Weber and Call Hall around $38 million, but the centerpiece of the plan is that Global Center for Grain and Food Innovation. That's the new square footage that will be between Weber and Call Hall, has a price tag of about $117 million. So give us more detail on what facilities will be included in that new center.
That will be, I think, the way it's structured now. And I should say that in answering that question, that as we did some forward planning, actually, that began before the pandemic, we were using an on-call architect, very, very capable group that we'd worked with previously, who had designed the building. And as we went initially out to sell the building, it was designed as a two-story structure, again on the corner between Call and Weber, with these physical connections on both sides, on the assumption that the new architects, which were not the ones that made those initial drawings, that we had to go through a state process to officially identify an architect for the new global center. But I still anticipate most likely it will be probably a two-story structure, and again it will house the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry, you know, faculty offices, and obviously office for the department head and support staff that keep that building going. We may locate, the initial plans had the director of the Food Science Institute fairly close to the department head's office. So we really want to capitalize on the acceleration that occurs when you put disciplines adjacent to one another and ask them to work with one another. All that will be there, and then functionally, you know, the very specialized equipment that's needed for the Department of Grain Science, including all the baking equipment, and also the milling equipment for instructional purposes, along with specialized space for the pet food program as well, will all be in that building. And again, it will be a walk down the hallway or corridor to find the food science faculty in the Department of Animal Science. And again, as I said, the faculty in livestock nutrition that will interact with the feed and pet food programs as well.
Yeah, just that proximity, I imagine, is just going to do amazing things for collaborations among the researchers.
Yeah, that's right. And we were really aided by the knowledge and impact that President Linton brought from North Carolina State University, where they hadn't quite completed it when he came to K-State. It's been open now for over a year. That new North Carolina Plant Sciences Initiative building, which was designed to bring into close proximity multidisciplinary faculty and their graduate students and postdocs. And they use the term there, and I think it's a good one, collisions of ideas. And that's what we hope to do here as well. We think K-State is so well positioned with things that were here already, and starting right here, Aaron, in this building with the Wheat Genetics Resource Center and the work it does with the NSF IUCRC grant. So we've got wheat genetics over at the agronomy farm, the downstream breeding part of that, then all of the things that go into the value-added post-harvest work that occurs in the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry. And what we really want to create is an opportunity here at K-State that we don't think is available at any other, at least U.S. university, maybe in the world, where we've got that continuum from genetics that are in the wheat kernel all the way to the value-added processing opportunities. And then more broadly, as the world needs more and more access to plant proteins, just to explore that in the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry even further with other grains, grain sorghum and other kinds of dryland cereals that may be useful in a growing world.
Yeah, the timing is perfect from a wheat perspective. There are 2 wheat protein plants in northwest Kansas, in Russell and Phillipsburg, either building or expanding, and they're going to need a workforce, and that industry is only growing. So let's turn to the student part of this. K-State obviously has 4-year degrees in milling science, baking science, and feed science, and I imagine there's going to be a focus on a student home in this new global center.
Yeah, Aaron, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because one of the things that we've been trying to sell is we want to create really the one of the nation's premier student experiences here as well. You mentioned the wheat protein plants, and there are other things that are coming around as well, expansion of pet food in Emporia, and then of course Hills Pet Food down the road, and Topeka and other locations, which are going to need workforce as well. So again, we want to be attractive to students, and we want to send them out with an education that's really second to none. And we really pride ourselves in the college of understanding that education, yes, it occurs in the classroom, but it occurs in other places as well. So we're very supportive, obviously, of things like crop judging and livestock judging and those kinds of things, which build other skill sets that students will need. Then the other thing that I would mention, and actually I'm really pretty proud of this, is we have a rather open admissions policy for students to come to Kansas State University. And we've had access over the past many years of data which demonstrate that I think we do add value to students, particularly you might judge to be at risk. And so I took the data and actually regressed or analyzed their incoming ACT scores against their outgoing salaries. And essentially, we found there's no relationship between the two. If we get them here, and that's not to say it's easy to keep them here and get them completed, but our faculty really put in the effort to advise students, and this creates that enhanced student experience so that they will go out and be successful. And so, you know, at Ivy League schools and other elites, which maybe put some restrictions on enrollment, we joke it's what they do is have to not mess them up. What we pride ourselves in doing is taking that student that maybe came from a disadvantaged high school that didn't have maybe the curriculum, didn't have maybe even the testing facilities that made it not distracting to take that ACT and to come into K-State and study in the Department of Grain Sciences and Industry or other programs, academic programs in the college, and go out with a really great career.
I think that's great, linking students with maybe not necessarily a clear path with opportunities that we know are available. Going back many years to my days here at K-State, the faculty advising of students in the College of Ag has always been a point of pride.
Yeah, absolutely. We just think it's kind of that next step. They might come in with a general advisor, but pretty quickly most of our academic departments want to place them with a seasoned professional who can give them good career advice, but also good life lessons as well as students come and they face different challenges as they get here and maybe away from home for an extended period of time for the first time in their lives. And we have those professionals who not only teach them in the classroom, but advise them with class choices, but also other kinds of things that they should be doing to add value to their education.
Mm-hmm. Let's circle back around to the money behind this grand project here. You've got a total price tag of around $208 million. Haven't raised all that money. Talk about how you got the money you have in such a short amount of time and the plans going forward.
I mentioned earlier we recognized that we had a compressed period of time to address the challenge grant deadline. And so what we did is what I think any group would have done is that we went after the low-hanging fruit, and by that I mean those individuals who had were recognized by the K-State Foundation to have the capacity and the interest in supporting a project like this. And it did involve a great and diverse deep team at the K-State Foundation all the way up to the leadership to make some trips, and that also included the president as well. So the focus, not entirely, but mostly was on individuals. There were some companies that stepped up already, and that's really how we got to that first 81.454. It also included that grand total, the $8.8 million that we received for the sale of that property to the K-State Foundation. And now, given the grand total that you have mentioned, Aaron, and the gap we have, which is about $65 million now, we still have the vast majority of the wheat milling, baking, feed, and pet food industry to work. And so, as a strategy, we have just recently hired as a consultant the former president and CEO of American Bakers Association, Rob Mackey, to work with us. And Rob knows a lot of folks in the right places and can communicate that opportunity and need. And so that's going to be one of our strategies to really trying to accomplish that penetration. We just didn't have time for that last fall when we had that deadline looming, but now we can take some time to work that really very well. We still have the livestock meat packing, I should say, industry, which will be interested probably mostly in Colin Weber Hall, the dairy industry, of course. So that's kind of the path forward. That's the way the rest of 2023 looks, and probably on into 2024 as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's impressive what you folks did in getting the match requirement for the state. A lot of individuals stepped forward. You've gotten some industry gifts, the commodity commissions, other organizations putting some money down, and
yeah, right.
I have no doubt the goal will be reached. What has President Linton meant for this whole project?
He's just been tremendous supporter, but he also had a roadmap for how he did it at North Carolina State University. And really early in the process, he hosted a group of individuals representing the grain commodities, but also the Farm Bureau and Kansas Livestock Association. Had them over to the president's residence for a dinner, and as we were wrapping up dinner and starting to talk about the elephant in the room, basically what he said was, what we're planning here, we really want to plan on behalf of the groups of that you individuals represent, and if we're not doing the right thing, then we shouldn't do it. And that's how the buy-in began to build, making sure that what we were doing was consistent with what the needs were for the grain, livestock industries and so forth for the state, but also his keen leadership instincts and so on to make sure that all of that fit. And so he's been tremendous.
So, Ernie, this has implications, obviously, for on-campus, for research, for teaching, for the students. What does this mean to people like me, the alumni, who are spread across the United States and around the world from the College of Agriculture, to see this kind of progress being done on campus, and what it means for those alumni and for the college?
Yeah, Aaron, I think that the alumni represent such a key network to the continuing, ongoing health and vitality of the programs that are offered through Kansas State University. And it is the alumni who help us connect with those appropriate businesses that they work in and put their K-State degree to use. And so what we need to assure our alumni of is that we're looking forward in the next not just year or two, but in the many decades coming forward, to ensure that Kansas State University remains a relevant and prominent land-grant university to deliver the mission of all land-grant universities to the state of Kansas, but also to the region, and then also to the nation, because in particular, this Department of Grain Sciences and Industry, I think, is really unique, not only in its degree program, but how it interfaces with an industry that's so vital to global food. And our alumni are such a key part of that continuum of support for that industry, but also for as a pathway for students moving forward as well.
This project is not the only one in agriculture going on. I think Oklahoma State, of course, building a new facility. I recently went up to North Dakota State University in Fargo. They're building a new facility. So this seems to be happening across the agriculture spectrum. Do you tie that back to what you talked about, this whole global food industry, food security?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the convergence of a number of different factors. I think what we did, and when I say we, I mean the collection of deans of agriculture across the land grant system, when in 2015 there was a study that was commissioned to really get some good numbers on the disrepair that were in our colleges of agriculture across the entire United States. And what that brought was an awareness that we had so many of our building inventory that were built in the 1950s and 60s, and that simultaneously many of these structures were coming to the end of their useful life. And so schools like Oklahoma State and North Dakota State, as you've mentioned, and others really began to embark on trying to solve that problem. And so, yeah, it is occurring across the nation, and for good reason, because we've really had, I'd say, a paucity of inputs into keeping those structures going. There's an interesting graphic that's been circulating about how the U.S. is falling behind China, the EU, Brazil, and other countries in terms of investment in food, ag, and natural resources, R&D, and which includes not only funding research, but also funding the build-out and upkeep of the structures that are needed to conduct that research. And so it's been a real wake-up call, and I'm pleased that many of our sister land grants are also replacing their facilities as well.
So, folks listening to this, there's some more fundraising to be done. If they themselves are interested in enroll with someone who should be approached for support of this project, how should they go about that?
Yeah, the key contact there is Carrie Weefald at the K-State Foundation. She's our lead ag fundraiser, and she's got a team she works with, and so it may turn out to be an individual that's on her team, but she would be the first point of contact. And of course, folks know how to get a hold of me or Susan Metzger. We can make sure that they get to Carrie if it's easier for them to contact us. But that'd be the path.
Well, so by the end of 2026, things ought to look a lot different around here north of Kimball Avenue in Manhattan.
They should, Aaron. I think about that sometimes. I have to pinch myself because we've been talking about it for such a long period of time, and now it really is going to be a reality. I was just about to say it seems like it's going to be a reality, but I'm confident that this is going to happen, and just really excited to see how things turn out.
Well, as an alumni myself, I'm proud to see this highlight on the College of Agriculture. Long overdue. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that, and again, I always want to make sure I give due credit to this entire team that's worked to make that happen.
My thanks to Ernie Minton, Dean of the College of Agriculture at Kansas State University, for joining us on this episode of the Wheats on Your Mind podcast. If you would like to learn more about the Global Innovation Center at Kansas State University, go to the web, ksufoundation.org. If you have questions about this podcast or have a topic you'd like us to cover in the future, please email us at podcast@kswheat.com. I'm Aaron Harries. Thanks for listening.